Lawyers of Reddit, what case you wish you never won? I always thought it would be cool to be a lawyer until I had to pay $63,000 in attorney fees over the course of 2 years for custody of my daughter. Now I'm not complaining so much about the money. More so about watching her attorney try to turn ATD into a piece of gold. No matter how irrefutable the evidence against her was. I wouldn't be able to live with myself or sleep at night defending on cases like that where I would potentially be trying to return children to drugs, rape, abuse, neglect, and etc. For context, I'll be an attorney in about a month when I graduate. During my schooling, I've worked at a family law firm, personal injury law firms, and the court where I saw some civil and criminal matters. I'll tell you now. Family law is a whole different beast that I won't touch with a 10-foot pole. Half the time you take on these clients when you only hear their side of the story. And then the bad things only come out halfway through and you can't get out of the case. You have to ask the court to get out of a case if you're already representing them. It's fairly often granted, but it can be denied. Plus, even if the attorney wants out, they can't not try to turn that TD into gold, or they can be sued for malpractice. All in all, I would never do it because of the ST involved. But I'm sure there are a lot of family law attorneys who feeling just as bad about those things but had no choice at the time. Did you end up winning? Former public defender. None. Several I wish I had won or gotten a better result. But none I won or got a good result and wish it had gone the other way. I had plenty of people re-offend or do other crazy st. But that's on them. Divorce lawyers should come pouring in. They get terrible women full custody and a hefty child support payment with limited visitation for the father even if he was taking more care of the children than her. Downvote me too if y'all want. You're not wrong. I'm sure cases like this exists. Everywhere. Can confirm. My mother has been medicated for seizures and the medication doesn't do much for her attitude. Pretty much as one of the most emotionally abusive and hypocritical people I've ever met in my life, and yet the judge gave her custody of me over my father despite him out-earning her and overall being an infinitely better parent. At the very least my dad has never tried to take revenge against me for something I haven't done. Client hired IT consultants from another consulting firm. The firm basically found qualified people and rented them out. Sort of like a recruiter, but they get fees forever. Common in IT consulting. Client eventually thought he was paying too much, even though he agreed to it, and stopped paying. He owed $200,000. In NJ, you need to be licensed as a consulting firm. If you're not, you can't sue for your unpaid bills. They sued anyway. Tried to argue some loopholes. We won. Client paid nothing beyond my legal fees. Was I happy I won? Meh. Gave me a great story. Great for my reputation. Doesn't feel great helping out a douchebag though. I'm an underling who had no role in being able to reject the case. So that was a little bit of a consolation at least. Edit. Clarity. Are there no other consequences for unlicensed consult firming? Sounds like they got lucky if they were only forced to swallow one client's unpaid bill. That consulting firm needed to learn that lesson the hard way. It's real-world business school. This will help them be a better business in the long run. I wouldn't lose any sleep. Don't feel too bad about it. These types of firms are usually scummy anyway, in regards to how much money they make compared to how much they decide to pay employees. Anybody who says they wish they would have lost the case because of something that happened as part of the case is probably an AE. To be honest, no. Winning a case for someone that probably did something terrible isn't a bad thing, and anybody who thinks it is just doesn't understand the legal profession. Doctors of Reddit. What patient do you wish had died? The closest thing I have is a defendant who was in custody pending trial. Won the case. He was released and hanged himself at home about 2 weeks later. That's the closest. But I still don't wish I had lost. was a labor lawyer for some time, and we had a no-exception policy against using the company credit card for personal expenses. Everyone knows you get fired for it because they beat it into you with frequent training. Make you sign stuff, etc. We fired a guy who was a few months from retirement. And his union filed for arbitration. Arbitration is kind of a joke, and any labor lawyer will tell you that no arbitrator would uphold that termination even if the guy wasn't near retirement. We won. Due to the way the pension worked. The fact he left before he reached 55 led to a massive pension discount. Like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oh. By the way, his offense was filling up his car with gas using company card because he had left his personal card somewhere and was going to run out of gas. On the other side of the coin, I had many employees do insane things like hide and sleep at work for 40 hours. Lead to a 30,000 gallon gasoline spill. Fighting. Death threats. Etc. who all got their jobs back through arbitration. That's so sad. In fairness to the company, FG around with company cards is a very serious violation. He needed to be much more careful about that. Yeah. Rules are rules. I handled a case for a friend. His landlord was a terrible woman. And she refused to renew their lease. When he moved out, there were allegations that he completely trashed the house. 2 months later, she filed suit against him for the damages. However, the lease required her to return his security deposit, or provide an accounting of why it was withheld. Within 30 days, she didn't. Under the law, she then lost any right to withhold it because she failed to end the accounting. I countersued and she had to pay his full deposit, all of his costs, and all of my attorney fees. But I can't really say I wish I had lost. She should have done what was required. And I am way too competitive to ever wish I had lost. Not a lawyer, but when I was a paralegal, my boss got a ex-offender acquitted of the most serious charge of first-degree sexual assault. We had a confession he'd given to our firm's hired shrink locked in my boss's desk drawer. During the trial, the lawyer had me, at the time a woman in my 20s, sit directly beside the PER so the jury could see I wasn't afraid of him. He insisted on taking the stand. During his testimony, I casually turned around to look at his wife. On her face was etched a look of horror. She, who knew him best, could tell he was lying. Up to that point, I guess she'd believed his story that the teenaged employee was just after his money. I felt so gross after that and switched to a real estate and refinance law firm. This comment played out like a horror movie. Well done. I used to prosecute neglect cases in big city in America for child protection services. After a few high-profile cases where young kids ended up dead at the hands of family members, CPS starting asking us to file on pretty much everybody. I understand why, but I wish they would have stood up to the bad press instead of allowing it to dictate who they brought to court. From that point on, I would say about half my cases, even though a cause of action existed, I felt guilty for winning. Edit. Location removed. No thanks Ethics Committee. I couldn't follow through this. ELI5 please? He's a lawyer who represents CPS when they want to take kids off bad parents. A few high-profile cases happen where kids are murdered by parents because CPS didn't act in time leads to a policy where they use any excuse to get the kids away from parents. He's saying for many of those latter cases he thinks the parents didn't deserve to lose custody. Ah. Thanks for explaining. And that's sad. I represented a man accused of murder. I was able to get him off on a technicality during his arrest, but it was pretty clear he was guilty of the murder. I truly regret getting him off because he was most definitely guilty. None of them. I want to win. I knew though that I'd have a tougher time not being emotionally engaged with family law and crime and anything else really emotive, and so forged a career where it's companies and cash at stake. Now I work in-house as a litigator for a multinational co covering disputes throughout the world. I always do make sure that if we're thinking of litigating in a funky country that the penalties aren't inhumane. No interest in someone getting executed or flogged for messing with the company. Seeing lots of armchair lawyers in here. But I can tell you the cases we often wish we lost. The ones where clients don't pay their DN bills. Actually getting paid is one of the most stressful parts of practicing. Actually getting paid is one of the most stressful parts of practicing. So when we don't pay you, we are doing you a favor. I'm not a lawyer. But let me tell you about this game called Phoenix Wright. Objection. Overruled. Yes. Well, once you've taken a case. More realistically, it was given to you. You have no choice but to do whatever you think is necessary for the best interests of your client. To do anything less open you up to a malpractice lawsuit. Also, don't forget there are lawyers on both sides of the case with the same duty to their clients. So in the end, the winning side is simply the one that put forward a stronger case. Personal feeling or opinions have no place when the case is actually being run. We signed up to be professionals in the justice system. That is doubly reason for us to be objective and leave our personal feelings out. Yes. Behind the scene we all have our opinions on clients. Be it positive or negative. But when it comes to actually conducting the case, we separate this very clearly. It seems the op is somewhat hinting the criminal case direction. I.e. I helped a super racist arsonist mass murder that burned down an orphanage. Many of us do other matters and probably don't even litigate. Many matters also settle before court. Yay. It's still a fun question. You were dying to give this speech. Worked for a large law firm. We won freedom for a suspected terrorist who probably did commit a very serious atrocity, but politics got in the way of convicting him. Sorry, cannot say which case this was. What the FK? I've been living by the adage that politics poisons everything since the late 90s, and honesty, it's held completely true over the last 20 years and likely since well before then. The one thing this post is teaching me is that I could never be a lawyer because I have a conscience. And I mean no offense by this. I am sorry that you folks have to live with these things. I know I am not mentally strong enough. It's true that the legal profession selects for a certain type of people. But law school and the curriculum are designed to mold people into the right type of people. Consider that without attorneys holding the police and prosecutors to very high standards of proof and professionalism, the constitutional rights of every accused person would be in jeopardy. Think about the flip side. Do bad people deserve any legal representation? Right before taking my bar exam in Germany, I was working in a small law firm as a law apprentice. There was one case which was given to me. Because it was considered unwinnable, but the client insisted on pushing through. The case was about an elderly lady who sold her cat. Because she was too sick to take care of her. The buyer of the cat, our client, a rather wealthy lady, took the cat to the vet right after buying it. Apparently the cat needed €2,000 worth of surgeries. She hired us to collect those $2,000 from the old lady. She was really an unpleasant woman, to say at least. She acted without even the slightest bit of remorse or empathy. She knew exactly in what situation the old lady was. Because she was the one who informed us about it. Nevertheless, we won the case pretty quick, even though our client didn't have a leg to stand on. That's sad. How'd that happen? Do cats come with a warranty now? Did the seller give a health guarantee? Not my pig. Not my farm. When I was an insurance defense attorney, there was a guy who sued one of my clients after she hit his car and hurt his neck. He was legitimately hurt bad enough to where he couldn't do his job anymore. I had to defend her, and I did a good job from her and her insurance company's perspective, and all he got was his past medical bills. The jury should have given him a lot more than that. And I have felt bad about that for years. Truly FD up ST. Question mark. Did you type this twice? Link. Different user WTF is going on. Edit correct link. You linked to this one, not the other. Thanks corrected. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.